Hey guys, on today's Mula podcast, we're going to be discussing a taboo topic, which is salaries. Salaries are not the easiest thing to discuss. Sometimes they are seen as something that's a secret. It has been ingrained in most of us that your salary should be private to you. On today's Mula podcast, we're going to be talking about why salaries should not be a taboo topic, or if they really should be a taboo topic. My name is Susan Nyawera. I'll let my panelists introduce themselves.
My name is James Gonjere.
My name is Wanjiro Catherine.
My name is Ezra Kahehia.
My name is Josephine Mosongo.
So, on to my first question. When it comes to money, specifically salaries, are you open on how much you earn?
It depends with who. Okay, I like telling stories. So when I was younger, even me, I never used to hear my dad say how much he earns. Of course, he used to say, "Oh, I earn very little," but it used to go a long way. But growing up, I never had anyone talk about how much they earn. Even my siblings, I don't know how much they earn. Okay, except for one. But for me, it will depend who I'm telling how much I earn and under what context.
When it comes to salary discussions, especially in conversations with either friends or relatives, I don't usually see it as a problem, especially with friends, because growing up, my mom used to be very open about what she earns. And even to this date, she's still open with what we get as a family, and I also do the same. She knows what I earn. It set expectations. So as long as you know how much somebody earns, they're willing to do some things, so you kind of meter down those expectations.
I do not have a problem with discussing how much I earn because I don't earn very much at the moment, so it's really nothing to hide. But then also, it also depends who I'm having that discussion with. I would share that information with my friends. Some of my family members know how much I earn, so it's not a problem for me.
Mine, I can say it cuts across. It will depend with the person I'm discussing that issue. For example, one, I take it as a personal issue. If I tell you how much I earn or the range I earn, it means we have a very close relationship. So I rarely discuss about how much I earn. But if it's in a setup where maybe the people we are discussing about issues to do with remuneration, we are very close, and there's maybe you have a positive outlook. I can, but not going into details the exact amount, but I'll give a range.
Can I ask who you've told how much you earn? Because even I have very close people that not all of them know.
For example, wife, yes, and my mom. But the rest, I consider it to be very, very private.
I think maybe apart from James, who has mentioned the people who he has shared this information with, the three of you said there are some people who you have mentioned to how much you earn, your friends. Maybe even some of you have mentioned to your colleagues. Which reasons made you be comfortable sharing your salary?
For me, okay, obviously my husband, and that's one of the first discussions we've ever had. Number one, because like Ezra said, you want to set certain expectations. Because, dating stages, of course, someone does nice things for you. You don't want them to think this is the norm. So when they give you their payslip and tell you this is how much I earn, then you know to expect maybe up to a certain level. And even maybe sometimes that can even lead to conversations about your values, about money, if you're on the same wavelength about those things.
For us, those who are in that institute of marriage, sometimes it's very critical when both partners at least how much your partner earns, so that to manage the expectations. And you see, the way she was saying, for those who are not, those maybe who are dating, you over promise or maybe you overdo things, but once you get into that situation where you're like husband and wife, now you settle into the reality, you're not in the reality. So at that point, you need now to make sure that your partner, at least, even if he or she doesn't know the exact amount, he or she is aware so that you can be able to manage the expectations and to avoid conflict.
I think I can follow up on that with, is it only your partner who has expectations with your salary? Like, if your friends, if you guys have plans, don't they have expectations?
For me, with my close friend, the reason why we discuss our salaries, in as much as we're in different industries, is because when we are in a scenario or in a situation where like we need to spend money, there's a ceiling of, okay, if I start spending a certain amount of money, which also forces him to also spend that same amount of money and they're not earning the same amount as I am, it leaves you in a scenario where every time you hang out with your friends, you're always straining. And that's what we usually avoid. Because I've known how much he's earned since, I think, his first job, and he's also known the same. So over the years, when he gets a raise, he tells me. So you'll find maybe we went out somewhere and he can cover a bill comfortably compared to me. So he's the one who's going to go. But there's that understanding. And to add on rather what Josephine was saying around the institutions, I think everybody I've dated, I've told them how much I earn. So that expectation of, as a couple, you're expected to do some things together, and some things yourself, as a man, you're the one who's going to cover that. So as long as they know my elasticity, there's no expectation of, in the next 2 months, you're going to Zanzibar or something like that. That can't happen.
So I was listening to your reasons, but Ezra's reasons, I found them quite intriguing. He mentioned this guy friend who they share how much they earn. They've been open with each other since way back. Part of the reason that they are both open is because they maybe like they're going out. Let's call him Geoffrey or whatever. So since Geoffrey earns more than Ezra, wakienda pale out, Geoffrey ni yeye atashika mzinga. So at the back of my mind, I'm like, wait. So I'll share how much I earn with my friends just because, okay, that part I don't understand, because I feel like it's my money, it's my life. They have their own money, they have their own life. Our friendship doesn't have to be determined by how much we earn. You don't have to know how much I earn for you to be my friend. We can have discussions. The reason as to why I would be free and open to let my friend know how much I earn is maybe mostly because of growth. If we have the discussion and I realize I earn less than them, it would make me think, especially if maybe we're in the same position or job level, but they earn more than I do. Is it the experience? Is there something that they're doing that I'm not doing? So that is why I would be open to have that discussion.
I think people have had this discussion around even like marriage. When some people say they want 50-50, you have to realize my 50 is not the same as your 50. If I earn 10,000 shillings and the person I'm with earns 50, their 50% is not the same as my 50%. I am having to stretch myself to get to that 50 against theirs. So the reason why my friend knows is, you see, like for him, he may have earned a similar amount and now he's in another like pay bracket. So he knows how much this particular salary would last you during the month. So if I go out, sana anaweza kuwa najua kuna venye we najua uko place poa juu, because we keep each other accountable when it comes to money. We avoid scenarios where we are overspending. So if it's a planned thing, just out of respect, I'll find, let's say he says them in Minnesota, and me, I'm not in a position to do the same, to maybe cover a bill. I'll tell me, hapa hivi, maybe let's not do this. But if it's a scenario where he knows he earns more than I do, because it's not a regular thing, we don't go out every single week.
Are you intimate with this guy friend of yours? Because you mentioned, and also James Ali had mentioned, like for you people who are in the institution of marriage, such conversations are a must-have, you know. But then when it comes to friendship, like my friend knows my ins and outs. Mwezi ikifika kona, akikaa hivi ananipigia hesabu. Akitoa rent, akitoa hii, amebakisha dhau kama 10. So tukienda mahali fulani atakwama, ama tukienda mahali fulani ataweza. No.
I think it's because the dynamic we have is we've been together as friends when we were broke. You get? And even when maybe I don't have money and he doesn't have money, we used to make sure if we're going, not even just out, let's say we're just going to eat, we are not stretching each other. Like, unajua naweza sema, we go to where? Galitos. Both of us can afford going to Galitos. If I say, let's go to maybe Radisson, not all of us can afford Radisson. But because I'm still your friend, I'll be like, oh, sijali, mi nitashika.
Have you ever wondered how much your colleagues earn, and would they also be people you might be willing to have this conversation with? Because they're the people you meet every day. It doesn't have to be where you're currently working, but in your career, is it something you're willing to talk about?
I think it benefits having that discussion with colleagues, especially like if you're in the same department. For example, if we're in this, like in my department, we're not all doing the same job. Knowing helps me understand either where I need to be or if I am being underpaid. You get? Because at the end of the day, not having that discussion is benefiting only one person, and it's your employer. And the system that is like the capitalistic system, that those are the only people who are benefiting from us not having a discussion around our salaries. For it to get to a point where we're discussing, I understand that that takes time. But just remember, you knowing helps you in some way. Because for you to go renegotiate your salary, you have to show the value you've been bringing. Because sometimes it's the same JD, but different experience. So people jump maybe to the conclusion of, because Josephine is a writer and I'm also a writer, all of a sudden we also have to earn the same thing. But Josephine has been in this particular career longer than I have been. So how is it I also earn the same as her? It wouldn't make sense. But my point is there is an importance of having that conversation because it benefits the both of you. And if you have it, if you don't, it only benefits the employer.
I also agree. Having that discussion is very important. And if you don't, to reiterate what he said, the only person is benefiting from you not discussing matters remuneration and perks is your employer, because there are topics that we grew and found them to be taboo, and you know, salary is also is one of them. And you find the culture in an organization that doesn't support or encourage their staff members, their employees, having those discussions.
And whether it's an unwritten rule,
An
I don't think it's
unwritten
written
rule.
anywhere.
No.
You shouldn't
You can't.
discuss your
Yeah.
I don't think
salaries.
you can.
I think it's just something that is generally frowned upon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you would find that fear will limit you. As Ezra said, you will only know if you are doing better or you are actually not doing as you're supposed to be doing if you have the discussion with someone else.
Something else maybe which is coming up is that in most cases, such issues, the best way to make sure that you're not disadvantaged is that, for example, when joining a company, you first do a background check. And the best thing to do, maybe if you are in the same industry, you can speak to one or two former employees. Then try to gauge and ask them the salary, maybe in the position you are. So you'll be able to get that a range which you will weigh whether it can work for you. Because because that one will help you to when you maybe join that organization, you are not underpaid, but you're within the bracket. Sometimes you might find yourself that by the time maybe you are joining, you are so desperate, and you didn't have that even background knowledge or information about the company. So when you got in or you got that job, that's when now with time you start realizing that I think I'm being underpaid. So as I think it's Esther or Kate who has mentioned that, now you can now try to find out. Maybe I'm being underpaid because, one, the first reason is usually you did not negotiate appropriately when joining the company. So maybe there, I feel when you now start discussing that, now maybe you can hear that so-and-so does this, ABCD. So you can approach now the HR or the manager and tell him or her, this is what I'm contributing, this is my contribution, and I feel I need a boost in a very diplomatic way. But in case you find that there are discrepancies between your colleagues and you're in the same job level, try to be smart by trying to show maybe what you're contributing against what you're getting from the organization.
There are people who you went to school together. Sahi, ukiangalia where you are in, don't know if levels is the right word, you're like, gosh, kwani mean, where was I? Hawa watu wakisoma, like we were in the same class, kwani what happened? So maybe I think it can even give you a perspective of if that's the correct career path you still want to be on. Because at the end of the day, money is what you want.
Apart from comparison, which other reasons can people want to know or share their salaries?
Most people just think ni udaku nataka. Because even I don't know how I'll go about asking Catherine, how much do you earn? Because what will be the first thought that comes to your mind when I come to you to ask, hebu nione payslip yako?
I just been tell them the truth. You know how much I am. You just yeah, but I feel like it's because it's an almost uncomfortable conversation to have, especially if we are not cool like that. Someone might assume ni udaku tu, nataka kujua mambo zangu, whereas huyo mtu tu anataka.
Just a genuine curiosity.
It's a genuine question.
I have a question for you guys. Does what you earn give you validation of who you are? When you start comparing yourself to maybe your friends, your age mates, maybe you're not in the same place in life, socially, economically, but does that give you validation of maybe I earn less than them, so I feel less than?
I feel like it does, but then also this depends with who you are as a person. Yeah? We are not the same, we can never be the same. We went to the same, maybe, class, did the same unit or course rather, and we might be even in the same company, but we are different. So I feel like ina depend tu na mtu na vile anachukulia mambo.
It depends on the person, as Keta said, but at the same time, it will be disingenuous to run away from the fact that in the context of being like a man, what I earn kind of gives me value when it comes to the people who depend on me. Because if I maybe do not earn enough and what I bring home is not enough to meet needs in the house, you see, there is a way some sort of like respect kind of diminishes. Something I feel like a lot of us need to address is the value that money plays in your relationship with yourself and your relationship with others, and remove that from those relationships. Because at the end of the day, when you were a child, you were broke and you still had relationships. Nobody was saying they can't hang out with you, Kate, because you don't have anything.
Please. Please,
No, like this okay tananga pesa.
Hapana, hizi vitu zinaanzanga kitambo Ezra.
Ndio.
The kids with posh tugaris ama kama ni wasichana wenye wamenunulia doli mzuri, huyo anafuatwa. Nyinyi boys mkicheza football, mwenye ako na makaratasi na mwenye ako na hii ya leather, huyu wa leather ako na value kushinda huyu. Money has a way of
Elevating.
it elevates.
For context, it's if before that mentality creeps in when you're around 5, that's when you now register like some things. But before that, you just hang out with other toddlers because they are toddlers and they are fun to hang around. And then now you see your status, that's status. But you in high school as a person, let's say, you didn't used to hang out with the people you used to hang out with because they earn.
You're all
Like
broke in high
outside,
school.
all of you are broke. You're just friends because the context being you're in high school together, you're suffering together. But I think at the end of the day, as human beings, we need to remove, like you just disconnect money from the value of you as a human being. Because there are a lot of people you meet who you earn more than, and there are other people you meet who earn more than you. You'll still talk to them. You'll still have a relationship with them. And I think that's a thing people should carry along their lives. It's just because this person is earning less than I do does not mean they're less of a human. And that should be like a basis of all relationships. But that's not how things go.
Bringing it back to where we are now, workplace, because that's where the hapo ndipo nini iko. If, for example, you realize you're in the same job group, you're doing the same job, then you realize that your colleagues are earning more than you, naturally as a human being, you feel bad, you feel affected, and your productivity, more especially in the workplace, will go down, and now you start thinking of how to get another job,
Which is not a bad thing.
which is not actually a bad thing.
They always say the grass always looks greener. But sometimes it just looks greener, then you get there and it's black. So how best can this conversation help someone to make better and more informed career decisions instead of just you finding out and you're like, bye, or finding out and taking it upon you, maybe taking up more responsibilities. Maybe if you feel like maybe you're overworked and someone else can come and maybe you can get an intern or something. I don't know what you think about this discussion, not just making you decide to move. Because how many companies will you move from? What if you move to the next one? You think it's more, but you get there and you're being paid less than the others. So will you be moving forever?
You have mentioned that it's not sustainable for you to be moving every year from one company to another. Then, at any one point, that power of negotiation, when now signing between the dotted line, when maybe you're in that room with those senior managers for the interview and then the HR, it starts from there. How did you negotiate your package? When negotiating, you also back it up with what value are you bringing into the company. That will be able, you'll be able now to justify why you want that pay, and then for them, it's not within their limit. So maybe they can see, if we don't give you this much, we'll lose you and we need your services. It starts with your negotiation techniques and how you table your case to your employer, to your possible employer. And then also remember, you also have a right maybe to decline an offer if you feel they're not comfortable.
I feel like having that discussion adds value to you. Rather, how you should approach it is immediately you find that your colleague who you think you should be on the same level earns more than you. You shouldn't be quick, to hand in your resignation before you try find out why that is the reason. Finding out why that is the reason isn't just finding out. There are ways you can try get that information. Usiende huko kugombanisha HR or the recruiting people or your manager and whatever. have conversations. Maybe you can request to have conversations and request maybe for an increment. And with when you are requesting for an increment, you have to show what your input has been. Also, because they'll ask you, okay, why do you feel justified to earn this amount of money to move from point A to point B? Have your facts ready. Wakiuliza hivi, uko na answer.
For me, I think that the whole point of this discussion personally will be for career progression. And when talking about this stuff, I know it's hard, but there's some people you might approach and ask them, how much are you being paid, especially if you're in the same department. And I'm asking because of ABCD. Let's be honest, most of the people in your company whom you've had a paid this and that much is probably from corridors of Moshene. And then after that inakwanga, oh, analipangwa 850 hata sionangi ni anafanyanga. Like, that is not the point. I mean, if you can use it to your advantage to say, okay, nimeenda kwa HR, this is what I do and I think I deserve this much, I think it will open more doors of opportunity, even for maybe the younger colleagues who will be coming in, hawataogopa kukuuliza.
For me, the reason why generally we have discussions, I am for having discussions around how much maybe colleagues earn, or even not just colleagues or colleagues in the same industry but not in the same company, is because we usually have this thing where we encourage even entry-level creatives to also have discussions around how much they ask for pay. Because you see, if I charge, let's say, for example, if I charge 600,000 for a job, and then there's another entry creative or a junior creative who charges 10,000, and the client goes to that person. You see, client mentally registers that, oh, I can get this job for 10,000. So every time client goes to somebody else. That's why when it comes even to salary, it's so that if maybe somebody who's my junior knows how much I earn, there's an expectation of, if I get to his level or their level, I shouldn't be earning less than this. So it prevents employers from taking advantage of people.
And that job hopping is not bad. Able look at Larry Mado. Koicho is not going to all those media houses for a less salary than.
Yeah, plus the easiest way to get a raise is usually just moving. Yeah. And also because of now the generation we are in, and not just generation in terms of age, just generation in terms of labor market, they expect you to have moved like a couple of times.
I think this has been a very insightful conversation with some hits. There's been a lot that has been said, but I hope for our listeners you'll be able to pick why maybe it's important for you to share your salary or not, and how sharing your salary can bring value to you. Thank you.